Unit 3, Lesson 6. This is example 1 of how to describe a translation off of the coordinate plane. So describe a single rigid motion that maps A, B, C, D, E onto A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime, E prime. And we can see here that we are given a vector. So it's easy to identify that a translation has happened. That won't always be the case. You will have to identify that the shift has happened. Again, you can note that the order or the orientation has not changed. I guess this would be A, B, E, D, C. A, B, E, D, C onto A prime, B prime, E prime, D prime, C prime. Sorry, the order got a little messed up when I did the GeoGebra. So we can identify that a shift happened. Obviously, a rotation didn't happen, all right? There was no change from 90 to 90. A reflection didn't happen since orientation was maintained. And these two figures appear to be the same size. So we can say that a dilation did not happen. There was no change in size, unless the scale factor was 1, in which case dilation didn't really happen. So we know that a translation with vector FG will map A, B, E, D, C onto A prime, B prime, E prime, D prime, C prime. So notice I included the vector, that's just a scribble, in my description here. Because they gave me the vector and a name for it, I used that one. If they didn't give me this vector, so say this wasn't included, then I could pick my own vector. But again, those parts have to be corresponding. So if they didn't give me vector FG, I would have to say, okay, this is then CC prime, or this is AA prime, or any of the other corresponding points written as a vector. But because they gave me this FG vector, that is what I used in my description. So it really depends on what they give you. Typically, they're not going to give you a vector because they want you to identify that there's a translation that happened. And so with that identification of a translation, you need to make sure that you indicate a vector. So if they don't give you the vector, like they gave you us FG here, then I would say, okay, A to A prime, or C to C prime, or whatever the corresponding pair of points are that I can identify. All right, so our last question, which is our common question here. In figure, again, the order is off on the naming, so I will fix that. So is figure A, B, E, D, C congruent to figure A prime, B prime, E prime, D prime, C prime, right? Are those two? Explain using the properties of rigid motions. So a translation maps A, B, E, D, C onto A prime, B prime, E prime, D prime, C prime, and a translation is a rigid motion, preserving or keeping the same angle measures and side lengths. Notice I have not answered the question yet. Yes or no? Are the two figures congruent? Therefore, A, B, E, D, C is congruent to A prime, B prime, E prime, D prime, C prime. Okay, make sure that you answer yes or no. You have to answer this question in your explanation, okay, as part of that.